Nice launch trajectory and countdown net pad is clear.
10, 9, 8,
Launch auto sequence has
7,
started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
In the commercial space sector, it seems there's just SpaceX, and then there are others. However, it seems that domination is about to be over as Rocket Lab is set to overtake SpaceX in the space race because of this one crucial reason. Keep watching to find out what it is. Rocket Lab is a rocket firm that has been developing rockets for over a decade, competing with companies like SpaceX in a less publicized part of the space sector, satellite missions. According to Roger Handberg, a space policy expert at the University of Central Florida, Rocket Lab is one of the success stories among the small launch companies. They are edging into the territory of the larger, more established launch companies now, especially SpaceX. Rocket Lab may soon have a thing to say about the duopoly of SpaceX and Blue Origin. In terms of launch frequency, the firm, established in New Zealand and located in Long Beach, California, is next only to SpaceX. The two are purportedly the only American enterprises that frequently travel to orbit. In just under 4 years, its smaller flagship Electron rocket had flown 18 times and sent nearly 100 satellites into orbit, with only 2 unsuccessful launches. Despite Rocket Lab's increasing grip on the satellite launch industry, the CEO of the space company, Peter Beck, envisions a future when it will be possible for mankind to go to Venus or Mars. Beck, who was also an engineer and started the firm in 2006, has just revealed plans to launch a small spacecraft with a probe to investigate Venus's atmosphere and search for evidence of life. He also announced that their newest rocket would be capable of human flight. The new vehicle is a fully reusable launch vehicle technically capable of transporting a crew of 8 astronauts into space. According to the CEO, the sleek spacecraft is tailored for mega constellations, deep space missions, and human spaceflight. It towers a little over 130 feet tall, somewhat shorter than SpaceX's flagship Falcon 9 rocket, and is equipped to transport a 1.5 metric ton cargo all the way to Mars. For the time being, Rocket Lab launches satellites from its small-grade rocket, Electron, which could take orbital pictures of Earth for study, as well as a variety of other applications, such as GPS monitoring. With its nearly 60-foot-tall Electron rocket, the corporation has positioned itself as a less expensive alternative to SpaceX. It has virtually taken over the market, mostly contending with SpaceX. But now, the company is about to make a big move that will put it on par with SpaceX and highlight its goals even further. On March 1st, 2021, the firm revealed plans for a brand new rocket named Neutron. Neutron is a rocket that stands 40 meters tall and can carry 25 times the weight Electron carries. This huge rocket is being advertised by Rocket Lab as the company's entree into markets for large satellite and mega constellation missions, as well as future unmanned expeditions to the Moon and Mars. Things start to get even more interesting as Rocket Lab promises Neutron will be capable of conducting human spaceflight as well. The corporation describes it as a direct alternative to SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. CEO Peter Beck had previously expressed reservations about creating a larger rocket capable of launching bigger payloads and perhaps serving numerous clients in one go. However, the satellite market is embracing ride-share missions into space, especially given the advent of satellite mega-constellations, which will likely account for the majority of satellites put into orbit within the next decade. The Neutron rocket can send 8,000 kilograms or 17,600 pounds to low Earth orbit, which implies it could launch hundreds of payloads to orbit at the same time. The huge Neutron rocket puts Rocket Lab in closer competition with SpaceX in several other aspects as well. Both firms are investing in less expensive spaceflight by using low-cost materials and reusable launch systems. Neutron's first-stage booster, just like SpaceX's Falcon 9 first-stage booster, will be engineered to land in an upright position on a platform out in the ocean. The comparisons with SpaceX don't even end there. Neutron, according to Rocket Lab, will be built to be certified to launch manned missions into space and the International Space Station, just as SpaceX already does. The layout of Neutron is similar to the architecture of the Russian Soyuz launch system, which can transport 3 people to the International Space Station. Of course, both corporations are keen on trips outside of orbit. Neutron will be capable of launching payloads weighing 2,000 kilograms to the Moon and cargo weighing 1,500 kilograms to Mars and Venus. Although the Neutron, which is designed to carry upwards of 17,000 pounds, will fail to live up to SpaceX's Falcon 9 in terms of payload, it will constitute a much-needed upgrade for Rocket Lab. However, the two companies still have some differences. In contrast to SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, Rocket Lab is not yet developing its own crew capsules. If Neutron is capable of launching humans into orbit, it's still unclear which spacecraft can launch on top of it. Rocket Lab isn't constructing an interstellar starship in the same way that Starship does. It's also not attempting to build a global satellite constellation internet business like Starlink. Outside of rockets, Rocket Lab's sole major project is the Photon Satellite Bus, a spacecraft equipment that often notifies the ground control of the satellite's position in orbit. However, the company just signed one of its biggest contracts, a $24.4 million deal with the United States Space Force to develop the Neutron rocket. It comes at a time when the United States government is looking to private companies like Rocket Lab to deploy satellites and other scientific equipment into orbit on their behalf. The larger rocket will enable Rocket Lab to keep up with the competition and move the business one step closer to putting pressure on Elon Musk's control of the $200 billion space technology market. Space Force deal is significant because it's the first time the government has invested in the company's rocket development. Although Rocket Lab's contracts have often been for space services instead of development, the most significant aspect of this is that the government gets exposure to all of the new technology they're creating and becomes familiar with the vehicle, the Neutron. They get involved early on to fully comprehend the vehicle and the technology they're developing. However, Beck doesn't think the Neutron rocket will be completed until 2024 because it hasn't been built yet. However, the rapid rate of change is already compelling him to go beyond simply deploying satellites and instead to corner the inevitable space tourism business boom. Beck revealed that the objective is to make Neutron suitable to transport humans into space as well, but the company would focus on its main business in the meantime, which is ferrying satellites into space. Rocket Lab already has a lot of operational experience with Electron, and their launch customers is usually a 50-50 mix of government and commercial clients. Beck stated that government clients usually reschedule launches a bit, but commercial customers are mainly concerned with how quickly they can get into orbit. The two appear to balance each other quite nicely, and the Neutron rocket will not only be used for government launches. The question on the lips of many is, would Neutron be capable of sending humans to outer space? Although Rocket Lab is not currently developing a capsule for any particular human spaceflight programs, but with the rate at which human spaceflight is growing, the company is working on bringing a vehicle of that class capable of human spaceflight to the market. The space company has revealed to have the requirements up front and is making sure the vehicle is certifiable. Whether the rocket is going to be certified to fly with humans depends on if the firm is awarded a manned mission contract and a requirement to do so, but the spacecraft will be certifiable. Another difference between the two companies is that SpaceX builds its own satellites and launches them, while Rocket Lab, on the other hand, launches for others. So the question remains, would Rocket Lab eventually make its own satellites instead of launching for others? Well, if you look at what the firm currently does, they build spacecraft, launch vehicles, and supply vehicle components to a wide range of customers. The space company revealed that ultimately, they'd also start building their own constellations of spacecraft or satellites in the nearest future. So what edge does Rocket Lab potentially have over SpaceX that will enable it to overtake them? The reality is that SpaceX and Rocket Lab are both private companies that have successfully delivered satellites to orbit full stop, let alone reliably. The difference is that Rocket Lab has always aimed to do it much more affordably and amortized a lot of the costs into a lesser sticker price. The company has always been very innovative in the way that they have solved a lot of problems, with a wealth of operational experience from the Electron rocket. The company has all of the reusable experience of Electron and is aiming to do even better with the Neutron rocket. So, when the company finally reveals and announces the configuration of the Neutron, and you look at one of the rockets, you would stand in front of the vehicle and think you're in 2050, not in 2020, according to the CEO. The space company has innovated in areas that are pretty disruptive and, in some sectors, would have ordinarily been very boring. So with the Neutron, they are introducing a very competitive vehicle to the market. With the completion of the Neutron rocket, Rocket Lab will be a strong contender of SpaceX in the space race. We hope you enjoyed today's video. YouTube is now recommending some of our other videos for you to watch. Before you head on though, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment below on what you think about Rocket Lab's ambition to overtake SpaceX in the space race. We'll see you in the next video.